of the Religious Advisory Board at the Shia Islamic Education Society in London, where he deals with family matters and resolves them in accordance to the Islamic teachings. He has over 40 years of experience in dealing with these matters. Assalamu alaikum, Syed. Thank you so much for being with us.
Ma'alaikum salam, and thank you for hosting, and thank you for inviting our guest.
The respected doctor, yes. Syed, as is the usual in this program, we start with the highlight of the week, and that is where you choose something to highlight during this week for us. So, what have you chosen, Syed?
Well, we are in the month of Zil Hijjah, and this is the month in which Muslims perform their obligatory ritual that is called Hajj, which becomes wajib once in everybody's lifetime if they can afford it. And it itself has a long history from the beginning of the creation of Hazrat Adam and Hawa until now. So it has many connections, many reasons why uh, Hajj is performed, and especially tonight is the night of Arafah. Tomorrow is the day of Arafah, and all the pilgrims would be arriving, or they would have arrived by now tonight, and settled in the tents. And in the morning, they will get up and get ready, and around midday, they will start their amal and du'as and supplications. Inshallah, those who could not go for Hajj will also take advantage of this blessed day and do a'mal, specific a'mal mentioned for this day. This is a very important day because apparently, according to a hadith, after Laylatul Qadr, the most important day is Arafah. If somebody has not been able to get his sins forgiven, this is another opportunity to get their sin forgiven. So we should all take advantage of this day of Arafah and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the best dua to ask is forgiveness of our sins.
Sure, we will go, inshallah, through more details about the day of Arafah and the night of Arafah and the amal that are required, and also about Imam al-Hussain. And it is the martyrdom of Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqeel also, which was on the day of Arafah, or on the 9th of Dhul Hijj, the day before Eid al-Adha. So I will ask you to tell us more about this. But you mentioned day of Arafah as the highlight of the week. Of course, it's the month of June, and it will be super hot in Saudi Arabia at the moment, in the region of Hijaz, in the Arabian Peninsula, where the Hujjaj are. But not only there, here in the United Kingdom, we are also experiencing quite a bit of heat. So, what are the struggles, Dr. Younas, that people can experience during hot weather and in the heat worldwide at the moment? Temperatures in Pakistan are soaring, and there is electricity shortages and gas shortages there. What are the difficulties that people may experience in such heat?
Unfortunately, the climate changes, which include very stressful and very severe weathers, both in terms of floods and in terms of severe winters. Likewise, by these days, as we are experiencing and we are observing the rituals of Hajj and Yom al-Arafah, the temperature in Pakistan and especially in the Makkah Mukarramah by this time is around not less than 45-6 degrees Celsius. So the impact of this heat wave can cause a lot of problems, especially physically, mentally, and health-wise. Heat stroke is eminent in these days. Heat stroke, which is actually the body's reaction to being too hot.
Mhm.
If the core body temperature rises above 40 degrees centigrade for a long time,
Mhm.
it can cause damage to the brain and some other organs in the body. So the
Right.
temperature below 40 degrees centigrade, the human body can actually control the body temperature by regulating itself by sweating, removing, say, the hot clothes and moving to the cooler areas, a lot of ways to get rid of it. The heat stroke is actually consequence of being too hot for too long time, causing the body temperature to rise, and this can cause some problems
Mhm.
both to the organs, to the brain, and even to the mental health. It can change even the psychology and the psyche of a man. There are
Wow.
actually many different ways, which can include exercising during hot weather, just like this is a sort of exercise what the Hajj they are doing in the open air. Usually, long exposure to heat can cause them severe situation, mostly in two of the forms, either in the
Mhm.
form of heat exhaustion or it could be the heat stroke, which is a very serious condition. We can say this is a sort of medical emergency as well, where the
Right.
people they are in the open air and the temperature is around 45, 46 degrees centigrade. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
Yes. There
Hello.
is a little bit.
Yes, please.
Yes, you are very clear. Yes, we
I
can hear.
was talking about the temperature. When
Hmm.
we go above 40 degrees centigrade, body can lose the ability to control temperature within the body, and a
Right.
severe symptoms then can create a problem with the organs like lungs, heart, kidneys, liver, and brain. And there is a sometime end point in terms of heat stroke, where
Mhm.
which means that often there's a less severe heat-related conditions, the symptoms before getting the heat stroke, and patient can suffer a lot. And in this condition, it is advisable to immediately contact some seek of medical emergency medical aid, especially the children and the people who are disabled or the people who are having some underlying diseases like diabetes, some heart
Mhm.
problems, or they are suffering from some liver diseases, they are actually more prone to have this sort of heat stroke. I was just
Right.
talking what are the effects of hot weather by these days could. And similarly in Pakistan, it's the same situation. I'm here
Yes.
to respond any other question, please.
Yes, sure. I mean, obviously, not only the Hujjaj, but as you mentioned, Pakistan, here in the UK, the temperatures have soared quite a lot, and the elderly, especially, are not used to such heat. So, would a heat stroke then affect them, even if they are not doing any strenuous exercise outside, as you said, as the Hujjaj would be doing tawaf and sa'i, and therefore may the heat stroke may affect them, but can it affect people here in the United Kingdom, even if they are not doing strenuous exercise in the heat that we see here that we are not used to?
Yes, of course. Uh, there is already some level of tolerability to heat. We use a word threshold.
Hmm.
Threshold differs for various ethnicities, various genetics, and the people from the various areas. Say, for example, I born in Pakistan, where I was used to bear with the temperature is 45, 46, 7 degrees. But
Mm-hmm.
here in United Kingdom, by this time, we are sitting in only say 23 or 4 degrees. So
Right.
the different impact in different areas, say in United Kingdom, because there is a very clear heat rays and heat waves, and they can have the same bad impact, a very serious impact upon health of a person, especially as I was just talking about, there are some of the people who are actually vulnerable to. For example, the young children and the ladies especially who are pregnant or who are breastfeeding their children are those
Mm-hmm.
people who are working. They have to work in the light and the sunlight. For example, there is no shade over there, and we can see on the roads sometimes the people they are working, and sometimes the people they have to work even during the night hours. And there is again a difference when we are living in a rural area or we are living in a urban area. The
Mm-hmm.
impact of heat wave is different.
Sure.
And
The laborers especially would be affected more, as you say, the laborers.
yes, of course. Yes, of course. So it can happen to any of a person. He can get
Mm-hmm.
the problem of this severe heat wave. Yes, please.
What are the symptoms, Dr. Perwaz? You've mentioned a few symptoms in your first answer. And how long do these symptoms then last?
Mainly when there is a severe impact of heat wave, depends upon how much is the heat wave, what is the intensity, and for how long it was the exposure, depending upon the condition. But there are some of the situations they it could cause rapid pulse rate, and the breathing could be shallow and very fast, and there could be some speaking difficulties, some concentrating difficulties, there could be some sort of cramps, there could be confusion. There are other symptoms which are both in the very mild effects and a very severe effect. For example, could dizziness. There could be a nausea and a sickness like. However,
Right.
headache can accompany. But when there is a severe heat stroke, when uh, gone beyond a tolerable situation, it could cause other problems like dry skin, pale skin, and there could be a very high temperature, even sometime around 104 and 5. And in very more severe conditions could cause seizures, and it can also cause drowsiness or faintness.
Mm-hmm.
There could be lethargy. There could be some sort of very intense thirst. However, in severe condition, there is very less sweating and the skin is dry. But in the early stages, there's only heat exhaustion. There could be simply a sweating at that stage, the body is still struggling. I would say,
You just mentioned heat exhaustion. So, is there a difference between a heat stroke and a heat exhaustion?
yes, this is based upon the symptoms and the signs actually. That's what I'm
Right.
talking about. Then it is a very severe, and the patient can go comatose, can go even unconsciousness. And when there is this situation, we say this is a very severe attack of heat stroke.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly there is no sweating and the dry swollen tongue as well, and there is severe headache, and the patient is struggling to have more water, but even then there is no relief. And this is a sort of a very severe medical emergency, and it is suggested he should immediately contact ambulance services, or he should contact the rest of services so he can get some
Mm-hmm.
sort of relief. And then it depends. in this condition, how long he is going to have treatment in the accident emergency department. He is supposed to be admitted in the hospital. It could be a short stay or it could be very long stay for a few days. Unfortunately, for those people who are very prone to, for example, who are always having some cerebrovascular problem,
Right.
TIA, and the stroke as before that, they are diabetic and they are suffering the end disease of the kidneys. Definitely, they may be supposed to come in the intensive care unit, and that's actually very life threatening. Unfortunately, if the treatment is not provided well in time, in safe handed, in good handed, with good practice, even death can occur. So, heat wave, heat stroke, heat exertion, whatever the effects, they should be taken very seriously and one should be very careful about.
So it's vital to keep an eye out on our loved ones and watch out for any
Yes,
symptoms
yes.
of heat exhaustions at the start before it develops into a heat stroke. Okay, so how do we prevent getting heat exhaustion or heat stroke from the outset? As we know, it's the heat season. What are the preventive measures that we can take?
I would say the first step should be to remove a patient, a sufferer, from that place which is actually a very hot, to keep on a side to some cooler place, while just giving relief with the clothes, for example, and then the person can use a hat or an umbrella. He can use some sun cream as a preventive measure because the main purpose of this program to just motivate the people how they can do and how they can play their role in terms of prevention is better than cure. That's what Ahlebait TV is serving the humanity, serving the people, serving the people across the globe. You are struggling, you are giving time. Maulana Sahib is here. The main purpose is just to inspire the people, give them a few of the guidelines. We are not actually here to treat the patients, but at least we can tell them. And every information is over there from internet. Why we are conducting this program? I would say through the live stream program, the live talk show, the people they are listening, they are taking interest and they can have more care, they can concentrate more upon their health due to these live stream programs. Well, in terms of preventive measures for heat stroke and the heat issues I was pointing out, we can close the windows in these days. No, it can cause a problem. We can close simply curtains, but we should open the windows for aeration, for oxygen. We need it. And we can have a plenty of water. And the juices, fluids. I would never suggest the sugary fluids, but never say about the fizzy drinks. They can cause even more problems. So the best way is just to hydrate yourself, and likewise wearing the lightweight and cotton clothes, the loose fitting can help us. Likewise, uh, whenever we can find there some shade, we can protect ourselves from the direct sunlight. Likewise, if you ask, we should care not only for ourselves. We should think about those people who are less privileged, who are at risk, who are disabled. We should not only think about ourselves, think about the others. That's the basis of humanity. Think about your friends and your family. And likewise, by this time, I am sitting in my car for this program. But in the heat wave, please, this is advised. Never ever leave your children. Never ever leave your pets. And never ever leave babies in the car, even for a short time, it can cause a very fatal result. That was something about how we can prevent.
As as a doctor, you think this is such basic advice, but I think the more we repeat, the message has to be repeated and people have to be reminded of basic things sometimes we can overlook, like dehydration. How people are very lazy about drinking water, and we have to constantly remind people that, it's important to hydrate and not to hydrate with fizzy drinks and with these drinks that are available on the market. Dr. Perwaz, how once a person is suffering from heat stroke symptoms or heat exhaustion symptoms and they seek advice, what treatment are they provided with by the health professionals?
The preventive measure itself is a part of treatment, actually. However, if somebody is having such a problem, he should be immediately removed from the source of heat and he should be kept to some cooler environment. And the hydration, if it is possible, he is able to. If he is uh, conscious, he can drink water. He should be given some sort of water. And while staying indoors and the person, if he is unfortunately not conscious, he is comatose, he should be kept in a recovery position so his airways are intact and he can breathe well. Likewise, he can remove any excess clothing if there is. He can even have some immersing in some cool water and placing cold packs under the armpits, under the groins, and these areas around his neck. So all these things can be part of a treatment for heat stroke.
And I suppose family members can also administer these cold patches before the health professionals even arrive or the patients are referred to them. Dr. Perwaz, thank you so much for all the valuable information you've given, the good advice that you have given. People, I know I have friends and family in Pakistan, and because of the power outages there, in spite of taking all these preventive measures that you mentioned of wearing light clothing and keeping the windows open and the house aired and drinking a lot of fluid, people are still struggling. What would your final advice be to everybody around the world in coping with the heat before we let you go and carry on with your journey as you are kindly joining us from your car?
The first of all is to understand Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He has blessed us with this life. We should take care of it. I would say when we are alive, the first thing is Iman. And after Iman, the precious most thing is, however, health, health, and health. If somebody is in good health, he can do even the ritual, ibadat, and the Hajj and the Umrah, rest of all. Unfortunately, if he is not in a good health, how he can travel? How he can do the rest of things? The main thing is to understand and to take care of this beautiful gift of life and health. Then, rest of all the tips we have tried to just provide to give, I should say, uh, thank you so much for this Ahlebait TV. And thank you for the prayers of Maulana Razavi. And thank you so much for yourself, Zainab. You are trying. We are trying. And they should value it, what we are doing for them.
Ever so grateful, Dr. Parvaz, for your time. We would let you go. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. I hope to see you again in the future in this program, inshallah. Thank you so much. I'll let you log
I'm
off
very
and
grateful for your time. So kind of you. Maulana Sahab,
Thank
request
you
for
very much.
prayers, please.
Thank
Jazakallah.
you.
Allah Hafiz.
It's
very
this
grateful. Thank
important
you.
night tonight. Yeah.
Syed, well, message that Dr. Parvaz gave that if there is health, you can do ibadat. So over to
Yes.
you, the important night and the ibadat that we have to perform. And as the doctor said, we have to also look after our health because if we are healthy, we have a healthy body, we can perform the worship acts with more concentration and with more vigor. Please go ahead and tell us about the importance of the night of Arafah and the day of Arafah, and what amal do we have to perform on these nights and days.
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, we have the blessing of observing the night of Arafah and the day of Arafah. Although we were not lucky to be in Arafat itself. Um Arafat is plural of Arafah. Arafah is usually uh, called for an area, and Arafat means areas. And why these areas have been named as Arafat itself has a story behind it, because many incidents and events have taken place in this piece of land. And there are narrations that this is the piece of land uh, where everyone from Adam till now who has been there was therefore seeking forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody goes there to commit sin. This is one of the rare places in the world where there is no possibility or uh, 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 there's no possibility of committing sin. There are no pubs and bars and discos and
But
dancing places.
people say it are in their ihram, so a lot of things
Yeah.
are forbidden for them to.
Yes, and plus whoever goes there has these restrictions. So definitely, this is one of the least committed sin area of the world. So
Okay.
and on top of that, doors of blessings of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala are open. Angels descend and write down the amal and deeds of the people. And there is a narration from Imam Zalal Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam. He saw a beggar in Arafat, and he shouted at him and said that, what a place to beg. I mean, this is the place where you should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why are you asking people? So this is how important it is, the area, and just being there is itself a blessing. And those who have not been able to do Hajj this year and are not in Arafat, and especially those who are uh, at Hajj, definitely this is one of the few places that I mean, every single Haji is there. And according to us Shia Muslims, we believe that Imam Zaman Ajalullah Ta'ala Farajahu goes for Hajj every year. And one of the most certain places that we can assume that we are in the company of Imam Zaman Ajalullah Ta'ala Farajahu is Hajj, and especially Arafat, where every single Haji has to be there. If you have not
It's a,
reached Arafat, you cannot do Hajj. And actually,
it's a
there is a
small
hadith from, yeah,
it's a small place. It's a small land, right? That's why you're saying that it's for sure and definite that Imam Zaman
yeah,
is there on the same piece of land.
yeah, because Hajj cannot be started without Arafat. Whoever has missed Arafat should he cannot do Hajj. He or she cannot do Hajj anymore, and they should do it next year. So
Right.
Hajj, Arafat is that important from Hajj point of view. And actually, there is a narration from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in which he says that Hajj is Arafah. If Arafah is not performed and if Arafah is not observed, Hajj cannot be considered as Hajj. So Hajj starts from Arafat area, and well, I mean, nowadays because of the traffic and crowd, people start going there the night before. Actually, the required period of time to stay in Arafat is from tomorrow midday onwards until Maghrib. So that is the time that people have to be definitely there and do wuquf and be stationed there. And that is why it is said when everybody has to be there, then that is the time that we can 100% be sure that Imam Zaman Ajalullah Ta'ala Farajahu is there, and we have his company. And
Okay.
then throughout the period of Hajj is the time that we can be sure. And one of the other most important places that we can 100% be sure is the last day of stoning the shaitan, because it's the last day of stoning the shaitan that every single Shia Muslim has to be there and stone the shaitan, and they are not allowed to get out of Mina until Adhan. And that is another very certain place that every single Haji in the world is definitely there, including Imam Zaman Ajalullah Ta'ala
Very
Farajuh.
interesting. Very interesting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all to go there and to be able to become such that we can meet the Imam of our time, and and he comes to see us also. Sayyid, you mentioned that our fourth holy Imam, when he saw a beggar on the plains of Arafah, he said that woe unto you that this day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is distributing his bounties and distributing sustenance and forgiveness, that you are asking from others rather than asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, on the you can also tell us about the other a'mal of Arafah, but what I know is that one of the most important a'mal on the day of Arafah, as well as dua, which is the main purpose, and you can tell us about the dua of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam on the plains of Arafah, but also the ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And I understand there are narrations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the zuwar of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam on the day of Arafah before he looks at the Hujjaj. What is this, and what is the philosophy of this and the ziyar of Imam al-Hussain and the significance of the ziyar of Imam al-Hussain on the day of Arafah?
Beside other important events related to Arafat, one of them is Dahwul Ard. We only on 25th of Zulqa'dah we had Dahwul Ard. Dahwul Ard is the time when the earth was spread, or according to what Quran describes, that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala created the earth in two stages or 2 days. First initial stage was in the form of planet, but the planet was not livable, and the second stage was to make the planet livable. That means liquids and gases were removed by the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this planet Earth suitable for us to live by creating the required things to exist on this planet Earth. And one of the requirement was that planet Earth not to be in the form of liquid or gases only. It had to have earth and dry land as well. So the place where earth started to spread, according to narrations, is Khane Kaaba, and Arafat is the next stage of spreading of the earth. So earth is stretched, and this is the place where many prophets came and sought forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although we believe that prophets don't commit sin, they do tarke aula. Tarke aula means they do what is not recommended, and for that they need to seek forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all the prophets were given opportunity to come to this place and seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the recent name that Arafah is known as Arafat is also there are narrations that Hazrat Adam met Hawa in this area initially, and Hazrat Adam's and Hawa's sins were forgiven in this area. Then Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was addressed by Jibreel, and he was instructed to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek forgiveness of his sins. And then he was repeatedly asked, did you understand, did you understand? Arafah means did you understand. So Jibreel told Hazrat Ibrahim, did you understand? And since then the whole area became known as Arafat. Arafta. Have you understood? Have you understood? Have you understood? So this is the area where we discover ourselves, and also it is extremely important before Hajj, because Hajj cannot start without going to Arafah. And why it is important for every Haji, every pilgrim to get themselves stationed in this area for certain period of time, is in preparation to enter the holy city of Mecca. And this was the practice that was done by other prophets, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever he used to instruct, whenever you want to enter Mecca, go and station yourself in Arafat and prepare yourself by seeking forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and be ready spiritually to embark on the pilgrimage that you have come for, or you are trying to enter the holy city that is extremely important. Although here there were some Arabs who used to live in Mecca, and they did not require to go to Arafah. They used to feel proud of themselves that they do not require doing that, because Arafah is not part of Haram. It's outside, around 24 kilometers outside the holy city of Mecca. So the Hajis have to go outside the Mecca and then start from there. And I was quite I was listening to a Sunni Muslim TV channel, and the Imam or the scholar was instructing and telling because Arafah has taken place a day earlier in Saudi Arabia. So according to them, today was Arafah and tomorrow is Eid. And because moon was not sighted for us, the Eid will be on Thursday and not tomorrow. So our day of Arafah will be tomorrow. So this Sunni scholar was saying that when you enter Arafah, make sure you pray Qasr. If Qasr prayer were not allowed, how come he is instructing the follower to do Qasr? So, which shows that the instructions that our holy Imams have given to pray Qasr while you are traveling is what Prophet Muhammad taught and practiced himself, and we should not go against those teachings and rulings. So
That's
Arafah,
interesting to you just said, Syed. So the Sunnis actually pray Qasr, they combine the Salah of
yeah,
Dhuhr and Asr. Really? Okay.
yeah,
That's interesting. Do you know
they are allowed to do that. Although they say we are allowed to, we can do other way, but there have been instructions that they have to do that. Anyway, so this is the place where Jabal al-Rahma is there. So many prophets came and prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and were forgiven. So one would be really unlucky if there is a hadith which says if you went to the biggest sinner is the person who went to Arafah and what was not forgiven.
Hmm.
Committing sin itself is not a biggest sin, but not being forgiven on the day of Arafah is the biggest sins. And from another point of view, if you look at the verses of Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr, one of the best and most blessed nights. And amongst the days, Arafah is the day which is the most blessed day. Yeah, the most blessed daylight time is the time when you are in Arafah and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and stationed there as an obligation, ritual, as an obligation of the ritual of Hajj, that Hajj cannot be completed without doing that. So, Arafah, and for those, I mean, this is what for those who have gone for Hajj, but there are many who don't go for Hajj, like us. We couldn't go for Hajj to Hajj. The second best place to be in Arafah is the holy shrine of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. Why the holy shrine of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam? Because one of the amal of Arafah is ziyarat of Imam Hussain Yawm al-Arafah, and dua Arafah that was compiled by Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, uh, and two brothers, Bashir and Bashar, I think the name has been mentioned in the authentic books of narration, that they have narrated, they were in company of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. They witnessed Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam going out of the tents and sitting by the hills of the Arafah and reading this dua, and they recorded it and they narrated it later on, both brothers, and this dua became famous as dua Arafah. Inshallah, may Allah give us tawfiq to read that dua tomorrow from wherever we are. I mean, because we have not been able to go far.
It's a very long dua, Syed, and it's a
Yeah,
magnificent dua. So I think people should be encouraged to also read the meaning and the translation of the dua. Nowadays, I think its audio is available as well. But very, very beautiful dua of Imam al-Hussein
I
alayhi
think
salam.
if our children or ulama and scholars sit down and give explanation and tafsir of, because dua is narrated by and compiled by the ma'asum, infallible. So infallible dua made by an infallible will be unique and full of knowledge. And I think it is the responsibility and duty of ulama and scholars to sit down and teach this dua as the compulsory lesson of aqidah. If you want to polish your belief, you should encourage the followers of Ahlebait alayhi salatu wasalam to ponder and think and read and understand the meaning of Dua Arafah, and try to digest it. And I'm sure you cannot understand. First of all, you need to learn how to read it. Secondly, then you have to gradually try to understand. I mean, the same thing with Quran. Each time when you read Quran, you think differently and new points come to your mind. So, in the same way, Dua Arafah, which is compiled by an infallible, is full of knowledge and wisdom. And each time we read, especially with pondering and trying to understand the meaning of it, will polish our faith and iman. And
Sayed, we have the last 10 minutes of the program. So you mentioned the merits of the plain of Arafah and its significance, and you connected it very nicely to Dahwa al-Ard, which is very interesting to know that the earth started being spread from underneath the Kaaba, and so plain of Arafah, which is very close by, is one of the first places that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spread. And you also told us about some of the a'mal that we need to do of dua and ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, seeking forgiveness. And I think there is giving sadaqah and also doing ghusl for those of us who are far away. If you could also, if we can connect this to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam also, well, on the day of Arafah, on the 9th of Dhul Hajj, Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqeel alayhi salam, the ambassador of Imam al-Hussein, was martyred. If you can tell the viewers a little bit about this and its significance, and also Imam al-Hussein changing his Hajj into Umrah and leaving the plains of Mecca. Why did this happen, and what is its significance, and how did the Muslims actually leave him? Because he is the essence of Hajj. Without him, Hajj is not complete anyway. We always, our essence of any ibadah that we do is salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is ali Muhammad. And so when he leaves Hajj in a gathering like this, and people notice that the essence, the grandson of Rasulullah is leaving, shouldn't they have questioned this, and shouldn't they have joined him? If you can tell us more about this political plot that was playing at that time and how it's significant to us also today.
Yes, I mean, Arafat and Hajj, this Hajj especially has many connections to the true beliefs of Muslims, and Ghadir event was connected to Hajj, the last Hajj of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the place. Arafah was the place when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam started to mentioned important points until he reached the plains of Ghadir, and then he declared Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, which will be after Hajj. We will be having Eid Ghadir, one of the important ayad of Muslims, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam appointed Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam as the first Bila Fasl Khalifa of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Although the Ummah and so-called self-imposed leaders did not accept the teaching of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and disobeyed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and appointed themselves as the Khalifa. So the event of and what happened to Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam is connected to the incident of Ghadir, because this not accepting what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said on the Yawm al-Ghadir was the reason why Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam did not give his hands in allegiance to the corrupt rulers of the time, and he departed first towards Mecca to perform Hajj. And when he realized and noticed that the enemy was trying to kill him secretly and blame others, and although I have mentioned this many times, that this is one of the false flag operations that the enemies of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam had planned to kill Imam Hussain and let the Muslims be the target of killing of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. And Imam Hussain realized that this a false flag operation is on its way, so he decided to change his Hajj into Umrah. And because once you have entered the holy city of Mecca, you should perform Hajj. If you don't, for some reason you don't want to perform and you have to get out, then the only way to get out is to change it into Umrah and do the tawaf and get out of Ihram. So this is what Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam decided to do to make the enemy's false flag operation be flopped and can not successful. So Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam started his journey towards Kufa, and the reason he started his journey towards Kufa was because of the letters, so-called letters of invitation that he had received in thousands. And according to some narrations, up to 18,000 people had written letters to Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. If you come to Kufa, we are your army and we will support you and we will be with you. And unfortunately, what we witnessed later on, the messenger of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, whose shahadat also is uh, on this day, that he was killed by, instead of being welcomed by the so-called supporters of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, Hazrat Muslim started to invite people towards Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam and truth, and who is the true leader. But all those so-called Muslims were bribed or threatened or forced or bullied to leave the messenger of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, Hazrat Muslim, alone, and he went to the masjid of Kufa, and he was leading prayers. There were only few people behind him, and by the time he finished, he was the only and last person praying in the mosque. So, and then later on, it led into the tragic event of Imam Hazrat Muslim alayhi salatu wasalam being killed by corrupt rulers of the time, and the news was received by Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam when he was on his way already to Kufa, that Hazrat Muslim has become Shaheed. So this is another incident that is connected to this day.
Yes, it's very tragic on nights where Muslims would be celebrating Eid. You find that the holy Ahlebait were met with this kind of tragedy that they would be overcoming. Sayed, before we end the program, because we have reached the end now, since it will be on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, will be the day of Eid al-Adha al-Mubarak. There is a quick question I want to clarify since we have you here on the program. I understand that, in the qurbani that we do, the sacrificial animal that we offer in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has to be divided into three parts. Now, normally here people in the West actually send the money abroad for this qurbani. So what happens to those three parts that we have to do, and what are the niyas that people have to make? If you can clarify this for us before we end the program, please.
Yes, I mean, Qurbani or sacrifice is not obligatory for the people who are not doing the Hajj, and Hajj cannot be completed without this sacrifice for those who are in the holy city of Mecca. But it has become a tradition that people follow this sunnah and do it. And again, those recommendations are just recommendations. Nothing is obligatory. Even Qurbani or sacrifice is not an obligation, but it is good to do it. And the aim of that is to take care of the poor and needy in the society. And for us, for the people living in the West, especially because it's a non-Muslim society where people are living. I remember I went to America and somebody had done a sacrifice at the place they were living, and then they distributed the meat to different people, and people did not like it, like to get the meat. They felt, first of all, they doubted whether it's hygienic or not, and secondly, they felt, well, they are not beggars, why they are giving meat to them. It's part of sunnah and tradition that when you give the sacrifice, you don't eat everything yourself. You divide between poor and needy and relatives and friends. So, so this had been the sunnah and tradition in the Muslim countries. In Muslim countries, especially in India, Pakistan, Arab, and Iranian, Persian, Indonesian, Malaysian, wherever the Muslims live, the cattle markets become very busy, and people go and buy the slaughterable animals and bring them and then sacrifice them, and then of course, because it is the day of celebration, a part of the meat is given to the household and family, and they eat it, and other part is given to the friends and relatives, and other part is given to extremely poor and needy. So everybody benefits from
Yeah.
the meat.
Most
So
importantly, it is a source of income for those poor individuals who rear the animals.
yeah, I mean, and and because of that, it has become more, especially in the Western world, it has become more a tradition that people or organizations collect money and send it to the poor and needy countries of the world and give the entire amount of the sacrifice to these. I mean, like I myself just today around, Alhamdulillah, £1,000 was sent to East Africa for an orphanage, and this was all money given by different individuals. They wanted to sacrifice the animal for the poor and needy, and I personally know the Shia Muslim community or orphanages where uh, not only Shia Muslim, in these orphanages, non-Muslim kids of the community are taken care of. So what a better
But as
place
you
than that?
mentioned, yes, definitely. As you mentioned, the meat is divided into three parts for yourself, for your family, and for the poor and needy. Do people who are sending money to the other parts of the world, do they need to make any special type of niyyah, or because they can't have that meat and they can't
Ni-
distribute it with their friends and family?
Niyyah and intention is not hidden from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even for the prayers, when we say you have to do niyyah, when you get up, and especially when you have learned how to pray, when you get up for prayers, first thing you do is wudu. When you're doing wudu, your niyyah and intention is already made. When you
What I mean, sorry,
niyyah,
Sayed, what I mean about your the part that belongs to you and your family, because if you are sacrificing in another part of the world, that entire meat is going to go for the needy. So, is there
so
anything that
you are sacrificing your own portion to them as well. So the intention, you will get even more reward and sawab, that you are allowed to take a portion for yourself and enjoy and have a feast and meal, but instead of having it for yourself, you're giving the entire sacrifice for the poor and needy, so you get the double reward.
Sure, sure. Well, we have reached the end of the program, Sayed. What is your message to the viewers on the occasion of Eid al-Adha? Please give the message in 2 minutes, as we are completely reached. We must
Yes,
wind up.
this Eid teaches sacrifice, and this Eid teaches us to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Arafah is certainly the second best day after Laylatul Qadr, to seek the forgiveness of your sins. Please pray for us and yourself, and remember the deceased, and pray for them as well. So if we pray for each other, inshallah, we will get the blessing, maximum blessing of Arafah. And may Allah give us tawfiq to, inshallah, next year be the Hujjaj.
Allahi Ameen. Thank you, Sayed. You remember us and the entire team at Ahlebait Television and the viewers in your du'as. And thank you so much, Sayed. We will, inshallah, see you again next week. And dear viewers, you too remember us and the entire team at the Ahlebait